Welcome everybody, Steve here. I'm just taking this, this is a door off of a 1940 Ford panel. And I'm just, there's a couple little parts on here that are irreplaceable, so I'm going to take them off before we throw the doors out. One of the things is, this is old. And there's no way you're going to get these screws out without a little help. And, I've got a big screwdriver here. Got a little help. I can put a wrench on it. But even then, it's so easy to just snap these off. See what'll happen with this guy. That one loosened up. Probably put a little bit of penetrating oil as it's getting really hard to take off now. But there's a couple of these ones. I've tried this one down here. No way it's coming off. Now, one thing you can do you can use a chisel. And then you can come in just on a slight angle. You want to go in fairly steep so the chisel doesn't flip off. And try and break it free that way. But I'm working on this 56 Ford right now, and I was taking off some screws on a lower panel. And the screw was actually harder than the chisel. So I was actually damaging my chisel. And those screws were really, really hard to come off. They just would not give. So I'm going to show you what I do, and it's a simple little method. There's so many different things that you can do on the internet. They show so many different ways of doing it, and you just got to choose what's best for you. What tools do you have? And if you have a welder, you're going to need a welder for this one. Then my method will work for you. Well, I just have to prove it to you. So let me get set up. We'll be right back. So what I've been doing lately, and my method might change again when I see something different, but this is one that I came up with. I used to weld, and I've shown it in the past. I've actually taken a nut, cut it in half so it's a little thinner, and then what I'll do is I'll put it over top of the screw here, and I'll weld it on the inside of the nut. Now that works really, really well, but lately I thought, well, I'm just going to put a piece of square stock. This is 3/16 square stock, and I'm going to weld that to the middle, and that seems to work fine. For screws, it seems to work really, really well. Now, I've got to make sure everything's all clean here, put that in there, and then what will happen too is when you weld, that heat will go right through and hopefully, it's going to break the rust up. Now, when it's coming out, like this one over here, I put a little bit of penetrating oil on it because it just seemed like these ones here were loose. But I was coming up, they got tight and ended up snapping off. So I'm hoping that they just pop right out. Well, let's weld this up and see if it works. Nice. Okay, that one worked out really, really well. Let's see how the other ones are going to work out. Alright, I didn't have it on play or on record, but I welded this onto the screw here. And I was saying, you got to be a pretty good welder. You don't want to weld your screw onto your workpiece. So you got to have some sort of competency. That one's really tight. That's really tight. Good chance that one's going to break off. But if it does break off, that's okay. Start to loosen up a little bit. I did not wreck my screwdriver. Oh yeah, there she goes. Let's see if it broke. Nope, didn't break. Okay. Go a couple more over here to do. See how they work out. Alright, I don't know if you can see it, but you can see that I've already stripped it with my screwdriver. And it's not worth wrecking your screwdriver over. That one just busted right off. Okay, that was tight, but the head's gone, so we can still go ahead. See if the penetrating oils worked on this guy. Yep. I tell you what, that's tough. Alright, this one here is giving me some grief. Let's go to whirl. Now, of course you're saying, well, the bolt's still broken off. Well, at least, yeah, but now I can still get my part off. And then it's just a simple matter of just drilling that and tapping some new threads in there. When you're working with something this old, that's just the way it is. Beautiful. That one worked. Been attacked by mosquitoes here. Breaking off a little bit. Well, there, got the latch out. Okay, we're not too worried about getting these out. Of course, now that we have a stud, if we really wanted to, I should try that. I'll put on a nut there because we got a little bit of stud, and we'll see if we can get the rest of it out. Just for fun. Now I'm just cutting the nut in half because I don't want to weld through the thickness of my of the nut, and I'm using a steel nut, not one that's galvanized. I keep those on hand so I don't have to weld galvanized. Coming. There you have it. In real time too. So the nut worked really good. As long as you got something to weld to, there's always a way of getting it out. It's a lot faster than drilling and tapping. I just put a bolt in here and I welded on the other side there. Let's see if we can break this off. Beautiful. Okay. Now I talked a lot about drilling and tapping, and I thought, well, I better do that just so that I can show you what I do. Now that one there is broken off, and like I said on the last one we put a nut on there. You could do that, but often you can't because this is just a little bit too short. So what I would do, let me just grab a file, I'll be right back. Now you could grind that smooth if you really wanted to. But I'm just going to grind it or file it until I can see everything. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to center punch as close to the center as I can. You get a center punch. That's pretty close. All right. what I'm going to do here, Now it'd be nice if we could just throw that in a drill press, but that wouldn't be very fair. What am I showing you? Now I'm going to drill a hole quite a bit smaller than what the bolt is. You gotta make sure that you're centered, and if it's not, you can always tip your drill a little bit. Recenter it. That looks pretty good. Of course, you gotta make sure that you're drilling straight. That looks pretty good. This is where a real sharp drill bit is pretty important. Now, just for this demonstration, I've left this out quite a long ways. Normally you'd want this a little shorter. It's just going to give you less chance of error. It's not too bad. All right, next step. We want to drill a hole that the right size hole for the tap. And that right size hole, this is a 1024. Well, to get the exact right drill bit, you have to go through a chart like this one, and a 1024, you need a number 25 drill, but we're going to go one more down, and we're going to use a 11/64. That's what we're going to use. Nope, 532. I got my glasses here. There we go. 532 is what I'm going to use. And if I look, wow, I wish you could see that. I actually got it centered enough that there's threads in there. So what happens is the drill will actually pull away those threads, but we're going to run the tap through there anyway, and it should be good then. Yeah, I got the drill bit so centered that this almost screws in there, and if you looked, here's a piece of the thread. I'm almost deadly center, and that's the key to the whole thing. And you just have to practice with your drill and getting things straight. And once you got that part done, then she's easy. You know, I don't use those easy outs or anything like that. I've really never had good luck with them. You know, you have to be in a pretty nice little world in order for them to work, it seems. Take your time with these little taps. I've broken a lot of them in my lifetime. Just gotta go easy. And that's how I tap out a broken bolt or a broken screw. Of course, if it was a screw, you wouldn't have to worry about rethreading it or anything like that. The secret is drilling straight. Well, we've had some success today, and some of these screws, of course I couldn't get them out. You strip the head with the screwdriver, and I'm not going to take a chance wrecking my screwdriver as well. But just using a piece of 3/16 square stock has really worked well for me. And then of course we got the bonus, we had that little stud sticking out, and I cut a nut in half and I welded the nut on, and we were able to get that stud out. So I'll show you what I did there. Now of course there's always going to be that time where you're going to have to drill it, retap it, or if it's a screw, re-drill the hole. And I do that all the time because of what I'm doing, what I'm working on. But I find that some of these screws on these older trucks, man, they're so hard, so the chisel method doesn't really work very well, but this really works well as well for everything. I even use it for bolts. But if you can use a bolt, you might have to go up a little bit bigger in size when you're talking about your square stock. Now if I'm going to do anything bigger than a 1/4 inch, I would probably cut down maybe a 1/2 inch nut, cut it in half like we just did, and go with that method. But for anything smaller, this works. I am having a lot of fun. This is the kind of work that, this is therapy. Because I enjoy doing these hard little tasks like this. And when you can pull out a broken stud and have a success story, man, that makes your day. So, thanks for watching this tip. Hope to bring you something interesting next time. Can't really think of anything right now, but I will. So, thanks for watching, and stay tuned.